Good morning, church. For today's devotional, we will continue with the book of Galatians from chapter 1, verse 6 to verse 10. I'm astonished that you are so quickly deserting him who called you in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. Not that there is another one, but there are some who trouble you and who want to distort the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be accursed. As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone is preaching to you a gospel contrary to the one you received, let him be accursed. For I am now seeking the approval of man or of God, or am I trying to please man? If I was still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Paul is very astonished that they are so quickly deserting him. Now, the word for deserting, meta, themi. Now, this metati-themi, it means to transfer one's allegiance, like deserting, like you change from one party to another party in politics. Change your philosophy from one to another. So he's kind of shocked that you so quickly are deserting him. And here he's saying, it's not that you are deserting the gospel. He's saying that you're deserting him. It's if you desert the gospel, it's like you're deserting Christ. So, and then he says, not that to a different gospel, not that there is another one. There is only one gospel. He's saying to a different perverted gospel. To pervert a gospel means it's not a gospel anymore. Any addition, any change to the original gospel, it's not gospel anymore. So he says, but even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to a gospel contrary to the one we preached to you, let him be accursed. Again, he states the same curse, that if anyone else is preaching the same God, let him be accursed. Now, the Paul's response is very strong, and to some it may shock that why Paul, being a good Christian, why he's saying such thing, why he's putting curse on someone. Yes, they are adding to the gospel, they are twisting the gospel, but why a good Christian is cursing? And Paul's response to these false teachers are evidently Judaizers, whose gospel is summarized in Acts chapter 15 verse 1. It says, unless you are circumcised according to the customs of Moses, you cannot be saved. They did not deny that you must believe in Jesus for salvation. They accept that. But they stressed that you must be circumcised and keep the law as well. You must add your works to the work of Christ. You must finish as if Christ's unfinished work. This doctrine, this perverted gospel, Paul will not tolerate. He's saying what? Add human merits to the merits of Christ and human works to the works of Christ? God forbid. Let a curse befall on such a person who corrupts such a gospel. The work of Christ is a finished work, and the gospel of Christ is a gospel of free grace. Salvation is by grace alone, through faith alone, without any addition of human works or merits. Even some cults have formed by such perversion, where they have perverted the gospel. They make you do the works. They tell you to follow certain new moons and certain laws, certain festivities, circumcision, in order to be justified. And Paul's reaction would still be the same. Let him or them be accursed. Paul further states that he is not seeking approval of man. Rhetorically asking a question, for am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If he was still trying to please man, he would not be a servant of Christ, because these Judaizers were blaming him that he's a man pleaser or something of that sort. And Paul clearly states that he's not trying to please man, because the gospel is of Christ is from God, and that if he were to change any of that in order to please man, then that would not be gospel of Christ, that and he would not be a servant of Christ. And that we see today, many churches have deserted to from the gospel, true gospel. They have added or they have subtracted in order to please men, in order to gain self benefit, in order to appease to the sensitivities of current culture. And that's what happens. Indeed, the church's greatest troublemakers, even then, even now, are not those outside who oppose, ridicule, or persecute the church, but those inside who try to change the gospel. It is they who trouble the church most. So, Paul continues and states them that he is a true servant of Christ. So, he doesn't want to please man, and he is the gospel that he's preaching is a true gospel, and anybody who turns from that gospel, let him be accursed. Thank you, church. Have a nice day.